I'm so excited to be here. So excited to be here with you guys. I've worked with some of the staff before, uh, and so I'm new to the uh, adjunct staff. I don't think I've ever had any classes with you all, so I'm just so excited to be here with you all and to share. As Clay was saying, this is a new time. This is a new time. So for those of you who have never taught online before, it can be really challenging and scary at the same time. So I am an instructional designer, and I just really want to focus you all on the ways in which you can deliver your content via e-learning and still have that effectiveness as you want to have. So hopefully you get something out of this. Hopefully you have more questions for me and I can make myself available to you. Like I said, it is kind of scary, but I'm just going to walk you through how you take what you do in the classroom and put it online, and just interesting ways that you can communicate. So my presentation today is on the components of effective e-learning, and I'm gonna just go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, so I have to be allowed to share my screen.
One moment.
And this is something you all will experience as well. It's not just about you knowing your content, it's about now learning how to use Zoom to communicate with your students. So bear with us as we all are learning how to do this and how to be effective in this software. So this is a skill set by itself. Just remember that. So don't be afraid of it or think, oh, my class is gone awry. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So I think I'm ready now.
Yep, give it a try.
Okay. Yes. So let me see here. So I'm going to be asking you all if you can see my screen. Okay, wait a minute. So give me a second. As I said, it can happen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Because I'm losing you all at the same time. Okay, let me do it like this. Now I can only see, okay. Screen share. Okay. Now it looks set up right. So can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen in full? Okay.
I can see your screen.
Thank you. Thank you. Whew. So this will happen to you all as well. So bear with me. Bear with me. So I just want to give you a little intro of what e-learning is. Can you all hear it as well?
There's one thing. Okay.
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. So I just wanted to give you just a background on what e-learning is. So now you have kind of a better idea. Some people have the thought process that e-learning is completely independent without any instruction. And that's completely contrary to what it really is. You're there in e-learning, but you have to put everything there for the student to grasp without you necessarily having that dialogue. And that's really what the larger picture is you're there in e-learning, but just not kind of the same as in the classroom. So we want to be effective in that. And that's that's where we have a collaboration between the instructional designer and the subject matter expert. You all generally are the subject matter experts. Instructional designers in a perfect world have a chance to collaborate together to make course content. I said in a perfect world. So many subject matter experts create courses without the instructional designer because either there's not that many at the organization or there's just not enough to go around. And that's generally the case. There's always more subject matter experts than instructional designers. So just to kind of set the foundation of what subject matter expertise is, let me play this and let me, for some reason, you all have disappeared from me. Okay, so in showing these videos, I really want to deliver in a way that this is something you can do as well. So when you're instructing your students, you don't have to think as in you're in the traditional classroom where everything is dependent on you. So you can bring in media, and which is a part of this effective e-learning. You can bring in these things to help enhance your presentation. And just to Clay's point, when you're recording yourself, that's your discussion. You can also put together PowerPoints or some kind of presentation to where it's all media, and then you can discuss in the classroom when you have your synchronous meetings. I know some of you are completely asynchronous, which you recording yourselves and having other media to support your student learning the content is also necessary. So I want to go into a little bit about what instructional design is. Oh boy. It stopped for me. Did it stop for you all as well?
It did.
Oh, did it start back up again?
It's back.
Oh boy. Okay. So I just put that together for you all to kind of just get an idea of what instructional design is. So for this actual, the meat of this talk is about instructional design thinking, because that perfect marriage of subject matter expertise and instructional design doesn't always happen. That means the subject matter expert is really on their own a lot of times to create this content. And so I wanted to really share with you how an instructional designer thinks about the material, comes up with the objectives in a way that the students can comprehend the content that you're trying to give them. So there's a couple of components. So we have the content, theory, engagement, feedback, and assessment. Those are the things that instructional designers focus on. So their coursework can meet the objective, align with the learning domains for effective learning. So I'll go into the content particularly. So if you have content, so my IT person is helping me here, so we'll see if this is a little bit better. So so if you're having your content, you want to have it in small chunks. So if you want information in small chunks, you have your text here and you have a link here. So you can also put small videos. Say you're talking about the social, economic, and political aspects of a time period. You can select a couple of statements in your slide, and then you'll have the links to what you're talking about all in one slide. And that kind of helps reduce overload and like what was mentioned before, kind of drinking from the fire hose. So you don't want to put too much on a slide. You don't want to make it too busy. You want to get to what is your need to know. So you can provide background, but if it's not necessary for your students to understand what your objective is or take them down that road on your objective, then that might be overload for them. So that's something to think about before you start putting your slide together, before you start putting your activities together. So everything is kind of in order. So you want to think about how much do they need, and you don't want to give them too much, because now they're confused on what it is that they're supposed to be thinking about. So you want to use your slide really succinct, be to the point, have a link to maybe the documents that you're talking about.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Sure.
It's been very difficult for me and some others, I've noticed, and we put it in the chat. We cannot read clearly what's being shown. I cannot. For instance, I missed everything on what the instructional designer does because the writing is a little unclear, and it still appears that way on my screen. Thank you so much for letting me.
Thank you for telling me. So let me go in. Let me get out of this and let me see what I can do. So it's playing within my slide. So let me play the video if you all don't mind, and give me thumbs up if you're okay with it. I'll go back and play the video so it opens up on the whole screen. We'll see about that. Give me a second. Playback. What I'm doing, if you can see my screen, is I'm changing how it's playing back. And that's something that you all will learn if you're taking my class too. So let me go back. Wait a minute, slideshow, current slide. There we go. I can't see you all now, so tell me if anybody says, can you see it better?
Can't see anything yet.
Okay. You can't see it? Oh, no.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, wait a minute. Let me stop. I have my IT person here, so let me do. Okay, let me open it. I'm going to open up this and let me do a new share.
And
Again,
when you're in the share screen,
yes,
down at the bottom left, make sure to check those two little tick boxes. That should help the
yes,
video a little bit.
Okay, they're checked. So let me just make sure. Let me change this. For some reason, which is not, it doesn't usually happen. I am losing you all. I am losing you all off the screen, so I can't see you all. And I'm not sure, because this has never happened to me before. So this is a new.
We're still here.
So let me do. Yeah, so I am losing you all. Oh boy. Okay, let me make this smaller and let me do it like this. Oh boy. Okay, can you see the screen now? Okay.
Yes.
Now, did it play in full screen?
Very nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, okay.
Full screen.
Woo. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so hopefully that was better. And let me go into the next one.
I saw it.
Thumbs up if you can see it. Well, actually, you all disappeared. Oh boy.
I can see it just fine.
Okay. Whoa, this is a challenge. Okay, so hopefully you all saw this. And if I can just ask for, help me understand just for a second why I can't see you all, because I've never had this before. I've always been able to see my screen and to see you all at the same time. And for some reason, I can't see you all.
There's like some three dots that have, you can click on that for more.
Yes.
And then in the options that come out, click view video panel, I want to say it's called.
Okay, show video panel.
And then you'll be able to see. Yeah.
Bless you. Bless you. I feel so much better. I have to see you guys. So just so you all, for classroom instructors, you know this feeling. It's like I have to see you all. Otherwise, I feel like I'm in this room by myself, even though I know I'm not. So here we go. So now I feel a little bit normal. Okay, so with the content. So let's go into the theory. So the next piece of effective e-learning is the theories that's applied. So here we go. Now I can see both. Oh, I feel so much better. So there's a number of theories that instructional designers use, and we really just take bits and pieces from each one to match the audience and the objective. So there may be some, behaviorism. There may be some from Bloom's. I want to really focus on Bloom's for this talk, because I lean on Bloom's a great deal. And for some of you, and I saw a comment that said they're a fifth grade teacher. So, hey, fifth grade teacher. So I was a sixth grade teacher in Prince George Prince George public schools. So
thank you.
Yes, hey teachers. So yes, so that's where I started. And Bloom's is huge. I mean, Bloom's allows you to walk through the steps. So I want to show you a little bit on how that's done. So for me, I wanted to really give you just kind of a image of what Bloom's looks like when it's not done correctly. Here you go. So for me, the bottom line is order. Bloom's keeps you in the order in which students learn. So there's a pyramid, and you see it starts at the lower level. So you go from remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. If you have that as a subject matter expert, you know your content. So this gives you a framework to think, and I'm sorry, I talk with my hands. This gives you a framework to think about when you're creating your objectives. And this is the guide, and I really harp on this so much. in order for the students to understand your content, you have to walk them through levels in which they would understand. And I just put this example together. So the archaeological island of Merowe, it's a kingdom, which I like to consider it as also a queendom of Kush. And it's in antiquity, and there's still some pyramids there, and they have female rulers. So let's just take that content. If we wanted to use that content, where will we start? So when you go to the remember.
Alan, we can't read it.
Yeah, this is.
Can't read the text.
Excuse me, Miss Allen, we cannot read it because it's full screen, so it's completely blurred. If you had the chance just to put it, you know, if you had the chance to zoom it out, we would be able to read, because this is a very interesting pyramid for everybody, but we cannot read one single word.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so thank you very much. Sorry again for interrupting.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. I want to make sure you all get this. I don't know. Let me see. So let me see if I can make this bigger.
Maybe making it smaller.
No, making smaller.
Make it smaller.
Yeah,
making smaller.
It zoomed in too far.
Oh, okay. So maybe I have to, let me stop sharing, and then let me share it without it being in full screen. And then let me share again and see if you all can see it better. Can you all see it better now?
A little bit.
Yes, much better.
Pyramid, but not
Seems better to me.
It's
Much
better
better.
to you.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can just stretch it a little bit. How about that? Let me close this. How about that?
Yeah.
much better.
You
Much
can see
better?
the levels, but the
Okay, let me zoom it. Is that better? Let me zoom out a little bit
phrases are
more.
hard to read.
I'm zooming out a little bit more.
Worse.
That's better?
Nope.
Oh no, that last one made it much worse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What about that?
No, go back the other way.
Go back the other way. Okay. Going back the other way. How about that?
Keep going.
Keep going. How about that?
Yeah, keep.
I'm continuously moving, so let me stop and let it catch up with me. How about that?
No.
No.
Smaller is better.
Smaller. Okay, even smaller.
Yeah, that's-
Okay.
Reduce again.
How about that?
No.
Maybe try
Go
sharing
back
the
to the
slide.
original. Go back to the original.
At one point, you had it pretty clear.
Yeah. You couldn't read the descriptions, but you could read
How
the
about that?
levels.
Maybe try sharing the slide and then projecting the slide, sharing as a slideshow and then projecting that.
So let me do that.
Let me say, while Danielle is working, she did a course for us, which is on Cornerstone, and you will be able to go through. She did a course on Bloom's taxonomy. So that is available to everyone.
Is that any
This
better?
is very fine here.
just
Yeah, we can
right
read
now.
very easily here.
Then I will stop touching it. I will stop touching it right now. So with that said, if we're walking through the objectives for this particular content, then we want to start at the remember. And remember, if you look at the course that I did for you all, it shows the adjectives that you can use for this. And I can just have my notes here. So for this one is state. So basically I wanted to convey, hypothetically, that the major power was from the 8th century BCE to the 4th century CE. So that's what I wanted the students to remember. So with that, there is also links that you can put here. So there's a video, and I won't go into the video right now, but I can share this slide with you at the end of this, so you all can really digest it, and I'm fine with that. So at the next level is understand. So once I introduce you to what this place is, and then I want to go and make sure you understand where it's located. So here I have the M was for map. So then you have your own legend on how you want to link things. Say that again. Do I have a question?
Yes.
It became blurry again, Danielle.
And you didn't even do anything. It just did it
Oh, and I
on its
didn't
own.
even touch it. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you on
Yes.
a technical note. When you shared this particular share, did you mark optimized for video or not?
It is checked, optimized.
Try unchecking it for this, because I'm thinking maybe when it's set for video, it may increase the frame rate but lower the resolution, I guess.
So let me take
Better
off
try.
the optimize.
Give
How
that a
about
try.
that? Let me.
Yes.
And is it okay, or
big
do you want me
difference.
to stop and share again?
Yeah.
That's better.
Yes.
I think that was the problem.
Alright.
Stop right there.
Okay,
Mission accomplished.
So with that, welcome to what we're going to have to do this year when we are teaching online. You may have to go through these same changes. However, I think once we really get comfortable, maybe we can figure out what the problems are. So like I said, just that checkbox alone, that had never happened to me before. So we're going to learn as we grow in this new way of delivering our content. So now that you can see it, and I feel better. So by the time I video, if I forget, somebody please remind me to check this box so to make sure you all can see the video good. So with that said, when you're introducing the content and we go to understand, so when you go to that level and then you're thinking about your content, you want to make sure you're walking them through. So for this particular content, I wanted them to know where it is, because a lot of people don't know what that is and where it is. So I have M for map, so I would link you to a map here. So, and I can't show you the link because I'm not in full screen. So like I said, I will share this and the links are live so you all can see it when this presentation is over. And I do apologize, but if this is the best way, you know what, wait a minute, let me think. I may be able, oh, I'm scared to touch it though. I'm scared to touch it. Let me just leave it the way it is. Because it might be okay to share.
I think so too. Let's give it a try.
Let's give it a try.
I see it in your mind.
Yes, I want to. So it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so let me do a new share. Since that box was checked. Can you see it now?
Yes.
It's in full screen
and it
now.
is clear.
Very clear.
So now we just learned something together. If you want to show videos, you need to click the optimize button. And if you want to show text, you need to unclick that optimize button. See, we learn something new every day. How about that? So here we are again. So when let me take you to the link. So there's a video and it's really about 4 minutes. And it's just really about the area. But what I want to click on is you can use your within your PowerPoint to click on. So I just want to show you, like, this is the map. So this is the map, and this within this slide presentation. The other things are outside links. And for those of you who are taking my workshop, I'll explain to you a little bit more. However, so this is content that you want to show the students, and of course you want to have the visuals. That is important. So here we go, and I'll go back to the slide. Okay, so then you go into apply. So once you make sure they understand what you're talking about, the information is defined, then you want to give them a little bit more information to make sure they're understanding what you're telling them. And then you want to go into the apply part. So here, the property testifies to the exchange between art, architecture, religions, and the language of both regions. And that's UNESCO. So with that said, I wanted to show you. Now this is going to click to an outside link, and I think I'm going to have to share again. So let me get my new share going on here. Are you with me?
Yep.
Yes.
All righty. So here we are. So we are in the apply part of the pyramid here. So we want to give them visuals. We want to help them understand what it was, where it was, and now what it looks like. So you really want to walk them through these steps to ultimately up that ladder. So here, and if you haven't seen these before, I'll just scroll a little bit. There was over 200 pyramids in this location, and some of them have been restored. This is one of the largest burials of their leaders, their kings and queens, which I love. And here, this depiction here is of what they call a Candike or Candace, which was the queens of the rulers. So this, thinking this may be Amani Renis, who is a powerful leader. She actually lost an eye in battle with Augustus, and she negotiated with the Roman army favorable terms. So she's a huge part of this organization, of this queendom, and how it related to Rome over centuries. Once they made this treaty happened and stayed in place for like 300 years or so. So this is something that, and even if you don't teach this, you know, the content and how you take people up the level is there. So you want to have imagery. So whatever you're teaching, you want to take them to these places. You want to show them the imagery from these places. So then they're following you. They're following you, because the ultimate thing is we want them to understand. We want them to understand what we're doing. So let me stop sharing and let me go back to a new share and go back to the slide. Are you with me?
Yes.
Woohoo!
Yes.
All right, cooking here. So the analyze. Now we had apply, and then we go up to analyze. So Amani Renis, who lived from 40 to 10 BCE, she's known as the and it says one key, but it's one-eyed. I'm sorry, there's a typo here. So she's known as the one-eyed queen, and she battled the Romans on favorable terms. So with that, there's a video that talks about her particularly, and we don't have to go in the video. Like I said, I will share this slide with you. And there's a document that I linked to. And the document is actually from a historian from 200 BC, 200 BCE, and he talks about Amani Renis and their battle. So basically, I put this here to say, when you're telling your students something, you also want to link them to your information, where you're getting it from, so then they can follow you. And we don't control everything a student learns. And that's something I want to just really encourage you all to embrace, that because you're standing in front of the classroom, you don't have to disseminate every bit of information to these students. You can point them to other things, because they're going to digest other things outside of your objectives. And if you really want them to have a full comprehension of what you're trying to teach them, give it to them. Let them read it for themselves, and they will digest what it is that you're trying to learn. And then they will have their own perspective and be better at having a discussion and putting their own opinion in it. And that's really what we want to get students to. We don't want to get students to regurgitating the information that we're giving them. We want them to think about it, have their own opinion, and we never know what they're going to do when they go off to their work. We never know what impact they're going to have. So we want them to think about the content that we're giving them. So with that said, we go up a little bit to evaluate. So once they've gone through these levels, now they're able to think they're on their own. Hey, how does this relate to what I know? How is this important? So those are the things you want them to think about when they go off to their work, when they go off to, and you all are at the community college, so maybe they'll go off to a four-year school and continue this learning about the content that you've given them. So in evaluate, I just pulled a little thing from Herodotus, put a little statement, and the Ethiopians, said to be the tallest and handsomest men in the whole world, differ greatly from the rest of mankind in the way they choose their kings. Because that is such a difference in what, well, the statement itself. He's saying, Herodotus from 430 BCE, that the way they do it is way different than mankind. And his mankind is as far as he can think. And, you know, the Roman Empire was really big and he was there at the time. So we want this primary and secondary source information. So when you're giving students stuff, the resources that you have, let them read it as well. So don't take on the responsibility of, I have to know everything and disseminate everything. Give them where you got that information from, and they will read it, especially if they have an interest, they will explore it even more. So with that, and then I actually link to the document here. So now we're up to create. So when we get up to the create level, we want them to do something different. And I just had something easy here, that's design a cultural educational travel brochure. But when you think about cultural and educational travel brochures, you have to know where to go, what to look for, and why it's important. And those are all the things that we covered within Blooms. So that kind of gets them to the create. So they're creating a project that they're applying every level that they've walked through. So in the e-learning, you want to do, and in the classroom as well. So in e-learning, link them to the things that you know, because in the classroom, it tends to be a broader discussion and you don't really read those documents within the classroom. But in e-learning, it's a must that you link them to these resources so they can learn more about the content, because they're not necessarily in a discussion, especially the ones of you who teach asynchronous. So they're dependent on your video of your lecture. You also want to link them to everything. And I can't say that enough. I know I've said it about 4,000 times right now, but you have to link them to the things that you know, and don't just take on the responsibility of trying to deliver everything. So let me see if I can, are you with me? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So now that we've gone through theory, so let's go to learner engagement. Of course, no one can learn unless they're engaged. And engagement in this capacity is very, very different. So, and I know Dr. Audrey and I have talked about this before. When you want to be face-to-face, there's an energy that you get from your students. You can read their faces, you can read body language, and we all know as instructors what we're looking for to make sure they're following you. In asynchronous, you don't get that. You get in asynchronous possibly, but if their cameras are turned off, you really don't. So you want to just have this this arsenal, this toolkit to think about how you motivate students. So success, and I'm going to read that to you verbatim. So when you're talking about the score, it's the motivate to learn. So the score, so success or the need to master the material, curiosity or the need to understand the material, originality or the need for self-expression, relationships or the need to be involved with others, and finally energy. With all the pieces listed, the learner has the energy to handle the course material. So when you're thinking about how you engage your students, you want to think about score. You want to think about these things, and it will just kind of help you when you're designing for e-learning, when you're designing your presentation, when you're designing your objectives. You want to make sure these things are all there. And here, and when you're thinking about that, so you have the blooms in your head, the levels in which you need to think about. You have your content in your head. You have how can I engage these students, and then you're thinking about, well, what actually am I teaching them? Am I teaching to what domain? That's something to think about. So in instructional design thinking, we always think about that. That's one of the first things actually we think about is, what is this? When we look at the objectives, where is this in the domain? Where is this in the learning domain? So here, when we have the knowledge, the cognitive domain is just about the knowledge. So let me show you an example. So when you're thinking a timeline, this is just the content. You just want to give it to them. So you can do that in asynchronous. You can put your PowerPoint together. They can walk through. They can read the content. Easy enough, simple enough. That's the basics. That's where you are with the remember. You're at the basic for this. So you're just delivering it. So if you're doing the effective domain, you want to kind of change their attitude about something, or at least open up their attitude about something. That's what you're trying to do. So an example of that, say you have this as your presentation. So you have them select, well, how do I feel? Let's go social entrepreneur. So here, what happens when you have low viewership? So you really want to show this is attitude. So if you look at the little vignettes here, you see the expression, you see the face. That's what you're trying to change. So when you're looking at your content, if your content is about racism and social injustice, that's definitely in this domain. So there's going to be a lot of talks about that, but this is where we are. So just understand what you're teaching to. And this is that domain. So I'll just go back here and say I select this. So then you want to take them to, I would say, the light bulb moment. When entrepreneurs struggle to launch and sustain a new venture, the key question usually is not the lack of relevance, knowledge, but the the necessary fortitude and attitude to face down difficulties and challenges. So you want to present them and say, hey, but if you're thinking this way, then this says this. This may be a way that you can challenge yourself, that you can grow yourself and think differently. So again, it's on what domain you're teaching to. And I'll just go back here. And let's go back to the slide. So psychomotor, there's some debate about how e-learning and psychomotor can work. Some people say you really can't do it. And just as to Clay's point about some students having their licensure and having to go back because they have to have those contact hours, that's significant. And I don't think we can get around that. If you need to see somebody do CPR, you can't necessarily do that at a distance. So some things can be brought over to e-learning, and some things are going to have a hybrid. So I wanted to really just demonstrate this to you so you can have this thought process in what domain am I teaching to? If I'm teaching to knowledge, if I'm teaching to attitude, it's easily converted to e-learning. When you're thinking about psychomotor, you really have to think about your objectives and maybe have a hybrid to that. And I want to just show you, there is a way though. So it depends on what you're talking about. So I just want to give you an example here, and I'm going to have to change some of the things here so you all can see it. So let me do optimize. So I just clicked optimize, and you're going to tell me if you're going to see it.
Wearing a face mask can help protect against viruses, but it's important to know how to properly wear one. Before putting a mask on, start by washing your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water, or use hand sanitizer. Time to put on the mask. Make sure you have the mask right side up. Many masks have a stiff, bendable edge at the top that can be curved to contour your nose. Now, holding the mask by the straps, lift it to your face and bring the straps around either your ears or the back of your head, depending on the type of mask. If your mask has a bendable top edge, go ahead and pinch it now to contour it to your nose. The mask should fit from above the tip of your nose to just below your chin. While wearing, avoid touching your face or mask with your hands so that you don't contaminate anything, and do not lower the mask below your nose or mouth.
Okay, so, and let me go back up here. There we go. So you all are back. So I wanted to show you that you can teach to psychomotor in e-learning. It is possible, but not for everything. So as you can see, it literally instructed how you put on a mask. And I thought that was relevant for what the times we're living in right now. So it showed exactly what to do in detail with descriptions. So when you're teaching to this domain, really think about your objectives. And again, if you can do it online versus if it has to be a hybrid, that is definitely something to think about. So when you're putting together your e-learning, you want to think about the imagery that you're using, your graphics. And there's a number of ways you can use graphics. As you can see in my presentation, I use a lot of media because I'm an e-learning specialist and I love technology and animations. So I deliver my information in that way. You also use graphics. There's certain ways that you should use graphics, and I want to really empower you all to use as many as you like, but select the correct ones. Now,
it's fuzzy.
It's fuzzy? Okay, let me see if I can. Thank you for that. Okay, let me take off optimize. How about that?
Yep.
Yes.
Fine.
We are cooking. Okay, so with that said, we have graphics. When you introduce a graphic, it should also have a text in it. It shouldn't be something that the learner is disengaged from. So if you have this image and they don't know why it's there, it doesn't help. So you want to put the image there and you want to put text under the image or around it, or some kind of proximity to the image that you use. For instance, this red blood cell. You want to use what's called a high fidelity image for a red blood cell. As you can see the cells. You don't want to have what's called a low fidelity image, which is this. If it's not really important to the details, you can use low fidelity because the learner doesn't have to think a lot about understanding the image. It's real simple. So you want to focus the learner always on your content and never distracting from the images on your screen. So you never want to do that. And you don't want to put any kind of images that have nothing to do with your content, that may be aesthetics. Like maybe you like flowers, so you want to put the flower banner. And to all my elementary school teachers, I love you. Now, this is something that we do all the time in elementary school because we want it pretty, because we want it colorful, because we want the students to gravitate to it. So we do it a lot. However, when you're doing e-learning, you want to stray away from imagery that does not support your content because it's basically overload. So a student is looking at your e-learning to digest content. So if it's distracting with the images or something that doesn't matter or just something being pretty, say that again.
A couple of weeks.
Did I miss a question? Okay, so I can hear someone, but I couldn't hear the question.
So
no. Okay, so high fidelity. So if you are teaching the digestive system or something like that, or definitely science-based, then you want to have a high fidelity image. You want them to have all the information they can from that imagery. If you're teaching maybe computer science and it's not about dismantling the computer and putting it back together, then you might want a low fidelity, just a little screen that we use a lot of times in icons. And icons are low fidelity.
We're at the beginning of the workshop, so can you?
Oh yes. So
yes.
Yeah, we're running over. So I truly apologize. So let me stop the sharing. So I did go into everything except assessments. So let me stop sharing. And what I can do is go here, because that was the other thing was feedback really quickly. So feedback, let me just share this really quickly. Screen share, feedback. Okay, so your feedback, can you all see this? Do I need to take off the option? Okay, so feedback, when you're giving feedback via e-learning, you want to, when it's correct, you want to give additional details to that, just like you would do in a classroom. And when it's incorrect, you want to explain why it isn't correct. You want to explain the correctness and why it is that way. So in e-learning, there is no discussion. So you're not in the classroom. So you want to make sure when you're doing instructor feedback that you're including that. And last but not least, assessments. So this is a list of assessments, and I can share this with you all since we're going into another piece. And they're really branching scenarios, group collaboration, open-ended question, problem solving and case studies, class blogs, online forums, and task-based simulations. Those are the assessments, and really that's the end. So that's the end of my presentation, and I will give you all the list of assessments that you can use in e-learning that will help you understand your content. So I do apologize about all the difficulties. So I hope you got something from it. So let me just open this up because I really want to see you all's faces again. So you can give me a thumbs up if you got anything from this. I would truly like to know that. Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much. And bumping along, you may bump along as well. No worries. Share your content as best as you can, and be empowered. That's really what I want to say. So thank you so much.